Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and I am on a piece of land I have owned for way too long. This is a project I started a few years ago that did not go how I thought it would, but we have a new plan now, and we're going to talk about that. We'll show you what we did to this property before and what I had such high hopes for, and of course we'll have some updates on it after we finish what we were planning to do. This is an acre of land just outside Greeley, Colorado, and it's zoned commercial. And when I bought it, it had a house and garage on it. So my idea was to tear down the house, tear down the garage, have a nice vacant piece of land, and then sell it to someone who wanted to build a business. I also even thought about building my own property here as well. And things just did not go at all how I thought they would. So here's the house, and on the outside it looked like a decent house, but it was awful. The way it was built, it was not safe. There was massive structural issues. It would have to have been almost completely rebuilt, and it was totally gutted when I bought it. And I am one who tries to save every property and does not tear anything down. This house was beyond saving. So it just did not make sense, especially considering it was zoned commercial. So you couldn't really live here. You couldn't use it as a house, especially because it had been vacant for so long. If someone had been living in here for a long time, maybe you could grandfather it in. But as it was, you could just use it as like an office, which really didn't have much utility at all. And I was pretty much told, don't ever go upstairs or walk around upstairs because it's not safe. It also had a garage. We tore that down. We'll link to the full video before of when I first bought this property and what it looked like and all of that. Also had a number of trees, as you can see, and different stuff going on here too. This property also had a well and a water tap. So a lot of people ask about wells and water taps. Water is crazy expensive here in northern Colorado. It has a Northweld water tap, which is almost impossible to get right now because Northweld Water has been in litigation and lawsuits with some other water companies, and pretty much all water taps have been on hold in this area, so you can't even get a water tap. And if you have a water tap, you pretty much can't use your well anymore, or you can't get a new well for sure. So water is just very, very in high demand in Colorado. We're pretty much in a desert, and it's very expensive. So that was one of the big things about this property that I thought would help it sell, was it had a water tap. Someone wouldn't have to go buy one or try and find one that didn't exist. And it had an acre. It was zoned commercial, and on a very busy road too, where cars are backed up to it all the time. So we got our permits, because you have to have a permit to tear down a house. You can't just go tear it down. Had inspections done for asbestos, lead, all of that, because you have to have that done before you can tear down a house, at least in Colorado. And we proceeded to tear it down, and it had septic with it too. We had to cap that off because the septic was so old. Could not use it. We had to fill it in, but we still had the water tap. The well housing is still there, although the well has not been used in years and years and years. But if we ever develop it or someone else develops it, they'd have to fill in that well and just use the water tap too. It does have electricity going to the property, and then in this area, I don't believe there's gas. I think you would use a propane tank, or maybe it did have gas to it. I can't remember, but either way, that's one of the easier utilities to get to a property. But a water tap, if you could find a water tap, is around $70,000, and that's without installing pipes, connections, anything of that. That's just the price to tap into the water company's line. That's it. So it's crazy. Actually, that's the price for a share of water. To tap in is even more expensive. A share is $70,000. To tap into it, you've got other fees. That doesn't count any of the installation costs for pipes, all of that. So it's very advantageous to have this. So we tore down the house, and we listed the property for sale. And I didn't think I was crazy aggressive with my price. We bought this property for $120,000, spent quite a bit of money tearing it down, cleaning it up. I think we had it listed for like $229, something like that, which would have made it one of the cheapest commercial lots in the entire area. It was just, I thought, hey, we'll get it sold quick, get rid of it, and then that did not work at all how I hoped it would. But here you can hear a little bit of the house tear down.
I know.
So what ended up happening was nobody wanted to buy this land. And I think I kind of know why. And it's something that now I know much better than I knew back then when I bought this property. And that is just how difficult it is to build in our county right now. A lot of you know I've had some issues with some other properties. I rented a property to a church, which apparently was illegal. And I've looked into developing laundromats, which has been just crazy expensive because of the water shares and different things you need. Well, I looked into building a building on here, a commercial building, went to the county, talked to them, had some meetings with them, and it all seems feasible and great until they tell you, yeah, it'll be about a year before we can get this approved and figured out, before you can start building. I'm like, a year? Like, yeah, you got to go through your process, your site plan. You got to have engineers out here. You got to have architects. You got to have a drainage plan. You got to have your landscaping plan. All of these different things. You got to tell us what kind of property it's going to be. You got to tell us what kind of business is going to go in. It's just a lot of work, and it takes an insane amount of time to get these projects approved, to the point where it's very difficult for someone to build a commercial property unless they are going to be occupying it themselves for their own business. It's hard to just build one and have it, for sale to another tenant. And so I thought about even moving my office out here, but it's kind of far away. Didn't want to do that. And in the end, I'm like, okay, we'll just sell it. And still, just nothing. We had a few people interested at just very extreme low prices, and they weren't even interested in it to build something. They just kind of wanted some land for storage, outside storage. So I should have thought of this a long, long time ago. It was actually Nikki, my project manager, who did. And she's like, well, why don't we just lay down road base, clear it all off, make sure it's fenced well, and then we rent it as storage. I'm like, oh, I should have done that from the beginning. Or even if it was all cleared off and ready like that, someone might even buy it just as outside storage, and where they can store trucks or cars or whatever. So that is our new plan. It took us a long time to get there, and it's taken a while to get someone out there to actually do it. But the work is being started. They're clearing off the property. We're going to put up a better fence. We're going to enclose the whole property because the last fence kind of cut off a large section of the property. And then we might get rid of that well, which you can see in the bottom right corner right there. That's what that is. So there's more area to park, store stuff in. And honestly, if it's set up for storage, it might be a lot easier to sell too, but it can bring in rent and probably pay for itself by having that storage and that storage yard as well, because again, it's not easy to find those places, even though you think it'd be a very simple and easy thing. So that's our new plan. That's where we're at, and maybe it will make this property slightly more valuable and me feel a little better about this one that has been just doing nothing for literally years. And maybe at some point it will be easier to do business in the county. I'm not sure. And it's a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's me. It's because people want the property, etc." Most people I've talked to in the area, I've talked to quite a few people, are having the same issues. Very hard to build stuff, develop stuff, even to remodel stuff, change uses. It's just extremely difficult. And we're in Colorado. We're in northern Colorado, which should be a fairly easy place to do business. But unfortunately, we've run into a few problems, as have other people as well. So that's the plan. Of course, we'll have some updates on this one and our other properties and everything else that's going on too, with the liquor store, mini mart, laundromats, etc. Some people I think have said to build a laundromat here, build a liquor store. Again, it would just take a insane amount of money and planning and time to do that. And it's just so much easier to take an existing business that's already set up and go that route. So that is not in my sights. Someone else could do that, but it's also kind of it's a very, very small town, rural little area, and probably not the best spot for something like that either. You'd want a little more populated area. So while lots of cars stop at that stoplight and sit out front here, there's not a whole lot of traffic in the actual town. People who would support, a small business. It'd be more kind of like a commercial business of some kind. It wanted a little office or a shop, some outside storage, some inside storage, not a heavy retail area. So, like I said, we'll get this cleaned up. We'll get a better fence put in. We will hopefully get something going on it. And this is what it looks like now. Today, we did have part of that tree fall down. And it's been a struggle getting our landscaping guys out here to take care of the property too, which is frustrating. But with this new idea, that should help with that too. And yeah, you can see the beautiful irrigation ditch that borders the property. And I'm not sure how a drainage plan would even work very well with a ditch right there and everything you would need. But I'm sure some very smart people could figure it out. Okay, we'll be back. We'll have more updates. Let us know what you think. And hopefully our other projects go a little better than this one.